The United Nations telling the United States to stand down when it comes to the protests or the violent protests going on? That's right. Stick by and watch this episode of Guns and Gadgets. Hey everybody, welcome back to the best source of Second Amendment news here on YouTube. If you don't believe me, stick around a while and let me know. You'll find everything good, bad, ugly, or indifferent related to the Second Amendment no matter where it happens. Which brings us to today's video. Now before I get into the meat of this, before we get enraged, let me tell you that the chances of you having to defend yourself are rising. Especially if you live in an urban area or travel to work in one. With the amount of stupidity going on, where people are stopping cars and ripping people out of cars, all in the name of a peaceful protest, the chances of you, and only you, having to take care of yourself or your family are skyrocketing. You can't depend on other people to be there. With that said, if you're not a member of the USCCA, please consider doing so now. The USCCA, they have great information to educate you. They have great training. They have now a new store. You can see the hat I'm wearing, and actually the shirt too is USCCA. I'll have links down below if you want a shirt. I'll also have a link to join down below. It's uscca.com/GNG. Yes, it will help the channel, but more importantly, it will help you. They should be the very first call you make if you have to defend yourself. Not only with a firearm, if you're not a gun person, if you carry a knife and it's lawfully owned, if you carry a sword or whatever you have that you defend yourself with that's lawfully owned, USCCA will go to bat for you. uscca.com/GNG. Now, let's get into this. First off, like the video so more people can see this because this is important. Share it if you can, please. And hit that little bell icon after you subscribe. The United Nations. I told you a couple weeks ago, right after Memorial Day, when the whole George Floyd murder took place, that the United Nations, the family of George Floyd, reached out to the United Nations to address what's going on in this country with firearms ownership and police and all that stuff, and they're rearing their ugly head. That's right. The United Nations have just come out within the last day or two with a statement. I'm going to tell you all about it, and they're coming out with another address. They're going to address this scenario, this peaceful protest where these peaceful people are getting beaten by police. Yeah, that's lies. I'll tell you about that. But the United Nations is going to address this again. So let's find out some more. Now, for over a month, like I said, since I did that last video, the United Nations has been conducting a human rights investigation into or against the United States of America. Originally they were investigating us over systemic racism, but now it's moved on to a different scope. The UN Council said that if the United States didn't crack down on police officers, then the United Nations would mount an intervention. Now let's get into this. I realize that there are a lot of people out there that don't support police. That's fine. Your opinion is your opinion. But I will tell you, if this dream of defunding, deflowering, decommissioning, removing, deleting the police, if you think stuff's getting real now, like in the streets of like Portland or Austin or any other place that peaceful protests have turned violent, if you think that not having someone or a force of some type that is armed to stop armed bad people that are full of evil intent, if you think not having that force there is a good thing, then you had better be sure that you are able to defend yourself. Hey, join the USCCA. But as a whole, society is at risk right now. Freedom, as we know it in this country, is at risk right now. So the UN started investigating the claims that police across America were like hunting down and shooting unarmed black people, and then this is legit. Then they realized that there were only 9 unarmed black males that were shot last year, and 6 the year before that. But there were numerous more people that were shot and killed as well that weren't black, and that some of these people who get shot and killed, a vast majority of these people, are shot and killed because of their aggression or their violence trying to inflict on somebody else or a police officer. Now, I'm not here for the argument of why you think what you think or why I think what I think. Your opinion is yours. My opinion is mine on that. But the facts are the facts. Of those 9 unarmed black men that were killed by police last year, only 2 of them were not currently in the process of attacking a police officer or another bystander or another person. So the UN at that time said, all right, well, let's investigate the protesters and how the Trump administration is responding to these protesters. Now, if you're following current events, you know that there are a lot of protests going on, and peaceful protest is a good thing, no matter what your opinion is. Peaceful protest is a good thing. In fact, it's actually protected under the First Amendment. Peaceful protest is. Where it crosses the line is when members that are in that peaceful protest then become militant and start burning stuff down, destroying public property, spray painting and defacing monuments or federal buildings, state buildings, municipal buildings, attacking people who have different styles of clothing or hats or beliefs, and in some cases, murdering people. The police have been getting attacked. If you're watching what's going on in Seattle and Portland, they're forming like military-style lines of offense, and they're advancing in a line, almost like it's watching, 300 over again. And, Spartans are taking over, and they're being attacked. The police officers. Let me tell everybody a little something. If you, watching this, are out somewhere and you're being attacked, you are able to defend yourself. It's your right. If police officers are being pelted with rocks, frozen bottles of water, punched, kicked, shot at, those people doing that deserve what they get as far as the use of force to stop that aggression. Just because you're in a group that's peacefully protesting or started the protest peacefully for a solid cause doesn't mean you get to just burn the country down or attack people because you're bored. It's not allowed, folks. You're going to get put in a check. So that's been going on, okay? And not all protests have been that way. There was a protest that I drove by yesterday that was peaceful throughout the whole 4 or 5 hours that it was there. But that's not the case in all of them, right? Now, in those ones that are totally peaceful, police aren't thumping people. This is where it just drives me nuts. If you become violent, then violence will become on you as well. So the United Nations is looking into this. The United Nations has ordered President Trump to stand down to stop federal officers from using non-lethal force against peaceful protesters in Portland. You can't make this stuff up. First off, the UN has no authority here. Zip. Zilch. Take your blue hats and go home. Mommy's calling. Second of all, if a protest turns violent, it's not peaceful. Therefore, it's criminal. If you're burning stuff down, attacking people, defacing property, you should be arrested, or worse, if you're attacking somebody. There's a lot of issues that people have now with Customs and Border Protection agents being in Portland and locking people up. In fact, you've seen the video. I think it was all over the place where the lady, a Karen was saying, use your words, when a couple guys jumped out of a minivan to grab people who were spray painting a federal building. I think it was a federal courthouse.
What are you doing? Use your words. What are you doing? Use your words. What are you doing?
I haven't done anything wrong.
Use your words.
What's going on, sir?
What is going on?
We need to know.
Who are you?
Why are you taking
NLG will get you out. What's your name? Tell us your name.
What's your name?
Okay, you're fine. We'll get you out.
Bro, what? Alright,
We got you, friend.
we got you.
Oh fuck!
NLG.
You just violated their rights.
Oh. It's kidnapping people.
You just violated their rights.
Thanks for keeping the fucking. Oh.
They apprehended them for the crime that they were committing and brought them to wherever they're holding them. She was pissed that they were in a minivan, unmarked vehicles, in a time where if you have a marked car, it gets like firebombed. Yeah, unmarked vehicle is actually pretty safe. And if you look at it, they were identified. Yes, they didn't have their names on them, but if you have a clue about what the law is, the law says you either have to have a name tag or a badge number to identify you, and they clearly had a number, an individual number that was assigned to each one of them. And that way, if you had to call Customs and Border Protection, you can give them that number, and they can give you all the information you need on that particular officer. They were following the law. The fact that the soys don't like it doesn't matter. And in case you're not following along, Portland has gone, I think it's almost 60 days now of unrest, of violence every single night because of what happened in Minneapolis. So according to the United Nations and all of the weak people that are supporting this, we should be able to burn down everything, it's totally okay for them to come by your business or home, smash your windows, burn your stuff down, blow your car up, and attack you because of George Floyd or Black Lives Matter or whatever the movement is. The fact that they can just perpetrate that hell on you is okay in their mind. This isn't usually the type of video I do, but I've had it. It's time that this ends. This stuff is ridiculous. I'm going to read you right from the United Nations webpage right now, and this is a section under their human rights area, and it says, this is spokesperson Elizabeth Throssell. She was answering a reporter's question about the United States authorities deploying federal officers to various locations and cities to quell uprisings. This is what she said. Quote, "Peaceful demonstrations that have been taking place in cities in the United States, such as Portland, really must be able to continue without those participating in them, and also the people reporting on them, the journalists, risking arbitrary arrest or detention, being subject to unnecessary, disproportionate, or discriminatory use of force, or suffering other violations of their rights." All right, Miss Throssell, first off, you and your opinion can go there. Now, I will tell you that I don't believe, or I'd be naive to say I did believe, that every use of force scenario in these areas where these protests are taking place is correct, because I know that it's just human nature. There have to be some issues where not everybody's doing the right thing. That's me thinking that, well, but a human's a human. And with that said, you throw a bottle or a rock at me, you have a problem. And you're going to be dealt with. You throw a rock or a bottle at a bunch of cops, you're going to have to deal with that as well. Just because you're protesting doesn't mean you can be a bully. Now, she continued regarding the reports about unidentified police officers detaining protesters. And again, I haven't seen every incident that's happened out there, but I'm pretty sure it's this case that was made, very, very apparent where these guys get out of that minivan and apprehend this person without saying a word.
Use your words. What are you doing?
And this soy girl keeps saying, use your words, use your words. Now, the Customs and Border Protection have already come out and addressed it. They said they had identified who they were once they apprehended that person. But for you little, babies that are out there thinking that you need to be coddled, if you're not the person that they're dealing with, they don't have to tell you anything. You're not entitled to it. So you take your entitlement and shove it where the sun doesn't shine. But this Throssell lady says that it is a worry because it may place those detained outside the protection of the law and may give rise to arbitrary detention and other human rights violations. So what she's saying is that, basically, if these people are being scooped up, then they could be brought to some dungeon far away and nobody will ever know they're there and they can be just tortured. Give me a break. Now, she did say something that I do agree with, and I'm going to read it word for word for her quote. "Also, it is important that any victims of unnecessary or excessive use of force do have the right to remedy. And there should be, as we often say, prompt, independent, impartial, and transparent investigations into any allegations of human rights violations that should ensure that those responsible are held accountable." I agree with her 100%. If there is anybody, whether it's a police officer or not, federal cop or not, that violates your rights and takes out some type of use of force that they were not legally okayed to do because of what you were doing, then they should be run through the washer. Absolutely, 100% believe it. Just like I said with the scenario with George Floyd. Should have never happened. They should have ripped that dude off of him and handled it accordingly. But again, if you are faced with the use of force, you also can't ignore the fact that if you did something that brought it on, then you got what you got coming to you. Now, here's another thing. Remember I said that they're going to address this again? Listen to this. "In light of demonstrations across the world, the UN Human Rights Committee, which monitors implementation of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, has been analyzing the right to peacefully assemble here in the United States. Ms. Throssell said the committee will issue a general comment or guidance on July 29th covering issues that include both physical and online protests, public order, and the work of the media. So the UN is going to give the United States guidance on how we should handle these armed and violent insurrections. Because I don't believe that if somebody's out there doing something peacefully and following the law and doing everything like they're supposed to, that they're getting attacked. I just don't believe it. If I'm wrong, show me the information. Show me all of it, not just clips, and I'll absolutely call it out. But again, I don't believe that a group of peaceful protesters doing it the right way, not blocking traffic, not ripping people out of cars, not burning stuff down, ripping down stuff, I don't believe peaceful protesters are being attacked like people are, throwing out there. I just don't. So, I want everybody to watch what's going on, pay a little more attention if you haven't been, and let's wait and see what the United Nations decides they're going to tell us to do on July 29th. This should be interesting. Ladies and gentlemen, please subscribe to Guns and Gadgets. This is where you're going to find this information. Also, make sure that you have a plan of defense for yourself. If you are an American and you don't currently have a firearm and you're thinking about it, now is the time. Go through some training. Be very good at what you do. Have a backup plan. Join something like this USCCA where they're going to be able to, if you have to defend yourself, they'll be able to defend you in court. They get you an attorney. They get you out of jail. There are things that you need to do right now to ensure that you are protected. Because if things keep spiraling out of control, we just might have to defend the country. Till we see each other again, be safe, stay vigilant, and carry a weapon. Take care, everybody.